Hey traders, this is Cousin Vinny coming to you on July the 4th, 2011 with a look at the week ahead of July the 5th. Well, we all know what happened the past week. We had quite a retracement on the S&P. All the other indexes did pretty much the same thing. And with this strong of a move, which happens very seldom, I should say. Whereas Stephen Place had mentioned in his review on Saturday that we don't get too many candles like this where we have a weekly move of this magnitude. We had one here on this move down back in 09, where you can see what happened. Once this candle was in, we were off to the races for the better part of 2009. The NASDAQ looked pretty much the same, except that candle in question on the S&P was smaller on the NASDAQ. You can see this weekly move was quite substantial and got back above the 10 period moving average on the weekly, which is a good sign. Okay. The Russell, we had the same thing. That moved back in 09, and this move now, which depending on how you look at this, we could look at this channel a couple of different ways. If we don't make it above this line where we closed on Friday, it could be interesting. We could come back down. I don't think that's going to happen. The move here was extremely strong. And as you remember, I talked about the DBV, okay, which is, as Stephen Place always points out, this is the power shares, a good way of looking at the Currency Harvest Fund, a good way of looking at and as we all know, a break above this trend line and move higher is good for equities. Okay, so let's take a look at the which at the moment has turned lower during the week, as we would expect, but it did close right at the 50 period moving average. So if we look at this trend here, this is something to consider. If we come down and test this, there's always that possibility we could bounce and move higher. We are oversold, or nearing oversold on stochastics, so keep that in mind with the dollar, because this could all change if the dollar decides to move a little lower and then bounce, which is a very probable move, just looking at the pattern that's putting in right now. Okay, so that's the dollar. Looking at copper, we like to see copper moving higher, which is good for the global economy. As we all know, copper is used in just about everything we use in building and also in automotives and so forth. So to see this moving higher, it's an indication that equities should move higher as well. Okay, so we're still in this channel. I'm watching what's happening up here, just in case we get a rollover and a move lower. Notice that the stochastics is overbought at this point. So with that in mind, last week I was looking for a move back up to the 61.8 fibs and a move lower. It didn't happen. We broke above this upper trend line if you drew these points in from these pivots, okay, and we broke through this substantially and are almost back to this 100% retracement off this last pivot line. Depending on where you draw these, now you can look at this from that perspective as well. Okay, so my point is that I'll be not taking too many new positions tomorrow. I have some existing positions that I will mediate and perhaps take some off. FTNT was one of them, which had a really strong move as well during the week, but it also had been moving higher aside from what the the S&P was doing. Okay, so we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 2 weeks of straight closes higher. Okay, so notice the Bollinger Bands have been expanding. The lower one looks like it's starting to move and might turn up. So I might take some profits tomorrow. I'll be watching this one just in case. Okay, so that's FTNT. McDonald's, I don't know how many of you took this trade, but I was looking at this last week and I didn't mention in the room, but on a breakout of this area here, I took some calls, and I believe they were the 80s. So in the money calls and did quite well. I took them off on Friday. I'll be looking for this to possibly give me another entry coming back down to the 10 period moving average, which is moving up. Notice all the other moving averages are moving up as well. So that's McDonald's. 3M, I didn't take this trade. I think Johnny may have, and it looked very nice during the week. But I didn't take a trade on this one. Okay, I'd look for this to retrace back to give us a better entry back to the 20, or rather the 50 MA. If this moves higher, that might be an entry. I'm also looking at some horizontal lines of resistance support, which you could have one here. This is something to look at. Amazon is also one I'm watching for an entry tomorrow. Okay, I was going to take this short if the S&P had rolled over, but it didn't. It just continued to move higher during the week. So any move back below this breakout area, or rather a retrace back to it, would be an entry for me. Okay, I'd take a long and I'd have a stop just below this breakout area. Okay, so probably around the 205 area, 204.50. HNSN, this was an IBD scan along with another stock I'll mention in a minute. Also notice that a few other traders that come up on their scans, and we did quite well on HNSN on, I believe we bought on this candle here Wednesday. No, it was Tuesday. We had a little bit of drop down, we had support, and we moved higher on this gap up on a upgrade by Piper Jaffray. Okay, so also notice that Option Monster had mentioned it. Nigerian had a few things to say about it. I'm looking at this level here to take profits. Okay, I only have 1,000 shares, but I'm looking forward to get back up to this horizontal line breakout area, and I'll take some off and wait for a breakout. There's a nice big cup and handle on the weekly that I'm watching as well. Okay, so this thing could get going. I believe there's like 12 to 14% short in this particular position. It's a cheapie and you have to trade it accordingly. Okay, LMLP was another cheapie that I took last week, where this showed up in a scan on IBD, stocks under $10. I was trying their premium services, which were free for the week. I think there's still like 5 days left if you want to check it out over at investors.com. But I saw this nice cup and handle, or cup I should say, with the right side building. I decided that I'd take these, and with this breakout of this level here, which coincides with these levels over here, previous resistance became support. This breakout I traded, and again I had 1,000 shares on this particular, 3,000 shares on this particular position. Okay, I took 1,000 off on Friday, and I'll hold the rest, watching for this on a long swing to get back up in this area. It might be first resistance. Notice all the MAs are below us, so I'll be watching this on Tuesday. The thing that stood out about these scans was this particular position had a 1,600% increase over last year's quarter earnings per share, and the composite rating I think was 98. So this was really good. Hansen was really good as well. The other thing about Hansen was that the man that's involved, Dr. Mole, I believe his name is, was also the same doctor, CEO of Intuitive Surgical, and one other position. I can't remember off the top of my head right now, but I thought that was good enough for Hansen to take a trade along with the short position and also the pattern that it was breaking out of. Okay. AOL, I'm still in this. I have the 20 calls August, so I'm watching for this wedge to continue to move higher. I'll probably take some off in this area here, this upper trend line, and some previous levels of resistance. Notice this candle here where we traded up and closed. Okay, right around the 2150, 2143 area. Stochastics still look good for a continued move higher, so I'll be looking for that to happen on the remainder of this week. Okay. Oracle, I'm still in the 30 calls and may take some off here. This is the 100 MA and the 50 right above it, so not sure how much more we can get out of this one with Stochastics overbought. So that's Oracle. Sprint, as you know, is a trade I've been in and out of over the past 6 months or so. I've been trading this off of this original channel down breakout. We got off right around the $3.75 level. We got in here and traded up to the upper trend line. We held up in this area and we moved higher, which is where I took another trade. When we came back down, got back in this trade again and traded back up on this double bottom cup and handle together. At the handle here, the breakout level, I was looking for this to come back down, and we got back in on this on Wednesday, I believe. Okay, so that's Sprint. I'm looking for this to move higher. But, I believe Credit Suisse has a target of around $9 on this one. MCO, this is my worst trade to date. I probably should have taken this one off on Friday when we got up to this upper trend line. And this, it's really hard to call this a channel so far, but that's what it looks like. We had this push up higher. I believe we're probably going to move higher on this one, so we'll see what happens. We're extending out this channel line from these highs back in when was that? Well, this is the daily, by the way. Anyway, so looking back a ways, we can see that MCO has been pretty strong, so I may just take the loss. I had a stop on the 37 puts, yeah, the July 37 puts. If something doesn't happen tomorrow, I may just take this trade off. Okay, so MCO, although last time, the day of expiration, the trade finally panned out, and we had some news that came out, and the stock dropped quite a bit, down from 41, I believe, this level here, when the news came out, and we dropped. This was expiration day, that Friday right there. So we got out of the June, I believe, the 35 puts, and we actually did quite well. We were completely zeroed out on this particular trade. Got away from us. I didn't see it. I didn't have a stop on it, and it got away from me. This will be the second time if this happens to me again. This could be a head and shoulders pattern here, but I wouldn't bank on it. Stochastics really hadn't done much, which is one of the reasons why I stayed in this trade with Johnny. Okay. Again, this is Cousin Vinny coming to you from Day Trading Radio, where we can talk about trades like this in the room. And remember to take the 2-week free trial if you so wish to. You can meet some of the traders in the room and maybe make a few bucks. Take care, and we'll see you in the room on Tuesday.